Hello everyone, today is 13th of January. My name is Sahil and welcome to the newspaper analysis. Friends, first of all, let's have a look on today's GS folder. Today we will be taking a quote from the Martin Luther King Jr., one of the most prominent civil rights activists into the USA. He says, "Our scientific power has outrun our spiritual power. We have guided missiles and misguided men." Now, this particular quote can also be related in one of the sin that was given by the Gandhiji into his theory of the seven social sins. So into the seven social sin, Gandhiji said that the science without humanity is a sin. Now the similar thing is being said here, where it has been said that we got the scientific power, but that scientific power had came at the cost of the spiritual power. We have developed the weapons of mass destruction such as the guided missiles, but at the same time the humans, they are lacking the ethics, they are lacking the moral understanding with respect to the use of these particular weapons. So guys, this is all about such kind of an idea. We can utilize it in the essays relating to the peace as well as into GS paper number 4 within the topic of ethics of war. So guys, that's all about this particular article. I hope that you have understood it, and now we will be moving to the next article. Now, guys, taking up the first article. So, this article is important to the GS paper number 2 under the topic of the judiciary and related issues. So, this article pertains to the recent directions of the Supreme Court, where the Supreme Court had stayed the implementation of the three controversial farm laws. It had put them into a suspension. Now, you already might be knowing that the farmers were incessantly protesting for the repeal of these three farm laws onto the outskirts of Delhi. Now, guys, the similar kind of news have been followed in all the major newspapers. So, this particular article has been taken from the Hindu. This particular piece of opinion has been taken from the Indian Express. Then again into the Hindu as well as Indian Express and as well as into the Financial Express. The similar articles have been carried. So, guys, the entire paper is filled with it. Now, let's see very comprehensively that what has happened. So, just to first of all tell you what Supreme Court had said. Supreme Court had provided that for time being, these three laws are being stayed, they will not be implemented, and the Supreme Court has further constituted an expert committee of the 4 members, and this committee will be going on into the credentials of this particular law and will be giving their recommendations as what should be the future course of action. Moreover, guys, the Supreme Court has observed that the center government has failed to deal with the farmers and the response has been very much inadequate, and it has also been observed by the Supreme Court that the recent stay onto the laws will be giving a kind of a respite to the farmers and will be giving a kind of a satisfaction that a kind of a truce has been reached, and it will be a kind of a compromise which the Supreme Court has tried to reach. So this is the entire ruling with respect to the Supreme Court. Now, after this particular thing, guys, many issues have erupted that such a kind of a decision by the Supreme Court is violative of many of the constitutional principles and practices. Let's see that what are the challenges into this particular light. So, guys, you might have heard about the theory of separation of powers, which was given by the French philosopher Montesquieu, where he said that a state is made up of three branches, that is the executive, legislature, and the judiciary, and all need to have their distinct role. The judiciary was given a role to uphold the constitutionality, to see whether the political activities are going into the sync with the fundamental law of the land or not, and if any discrepancies there into that particular direction, the judiciary needs to take the actions to undo such unhealthy and violative practice. But what has happened today, the judiciary or the Supreme Court is rather acting as a vehicle to achieve the political and administrative management. Today, the judiciary is playing the role of the negotiator between the two forces, that is, the citizens or the farmers, as well as the state or the government. Guys, today the law has been suspended or it has been kept under a stay. But the question comes that what was the legal basis? Now, the Supreme Court has a very clear mandate that the suspension can be carried if it is ultra virus to the constitution or if it is going in the opposition of any earlier precedent or earlier judgment. But clearly, the Supreme Supreme Court neither quoted any of the article which it is violating, nor quoted any earlier convention, earlier judgment, or any earlier precedent. Rather, just giving a reason that the center has not failed to respond cannot be a ground for keeping a law under a stay. So, guys, what has happened? The Supreme Court has started a wrong precedent where a kind of a convention or a practice will develop that whenever the citizens are not liking any particular law, they can simply come to the capital, they can gherao a particular public building, and they can ask for a negotiation. And if the center fails to negotiate, then the Supreme Court can step in. Now, guys, as we are discussing this particular thing, I want to make things very clear that I am not saying that the demands of the farmers are wrong or they are not needed to be considered. But as we are talking about the academic details of the particular matter, we need to see it with the utmost rationality. So, according to that particular basis only, we will be seeing these arguments. After that, guys, next reason that comes into this particular direction is that the Supreme Court gave the direction, but it did not hurt the councils. For example, the lawyers who were representing the farmers, such as the Prashant Bhushan, Colin Gonzalez, H.S. Fulka, they were not there. So, in absence of them, the decision was given. So, how it is keeping up the interest of the farmers also, it is a kind of a question mark. Moreover, guys, if it has been said that the Supreme Court has tried to bring out the committee of the four members in order to carry the mediation between the two parties, that is the farmer and the government, then also there is a fault. Why? Because the first rule of the mediation is this, that it needs to be acceptable to all. And when the farmers were asked that how they feel with respect to the Supreme Court stay onto the law, they have clearly said that they are not happy with it and they want only the repeal of the law, and they will not even be going back to their home. Then after that, it has been said that what are the credentials of the committee of the four members. Now already the farmers had said that the committee of the four members, they were already the pro government or they are pro farm laws, and therefore at the end of the day, even their recommendations will be like this, that the farmers interest will not be kept into the mind, and it is just an attempt to dissipate this entire movement. So even the credentials of the committee have been questioned. Then, guys, it has been said that even if the committee is very transparent, it gives some recommendations, then how the court will be considering these recommendations? The court clearly is not having any power that it can make a legislation. So how that particular thing will be taken up, it is also not very clear. Then, guys, further it has been said that it will also be impacting the business sentiments into the India. How? So whenever we talk about the business sentiments, it depends on to the stability of the legislations of a particular nation, and there needs to be a very clear legislative process. But now, as the Supreme Court had stayed a legislation, it can give a negative sentiment that if any particular thing is not going in sync with the people's expectation, then the judiciary can step in, and even the law can be removed, it could be modified, and therefore the stability with respect to the business in India will be getting impacted at the end of the day. So therefore it has been said that though it might be having the good, Supreme Court might be having the good intentions, but this particular precedent is not healthy and will not be leading to the good consequences into the long term. Guys, please keep all these particular things into your mind with respect to your GS paper number 2 under the topic of judiciary. Now, guys, this particular article has been taken from the Mint newspaper, and it is important with respect to the basic concepts of economy and will be important under the paper of GS paper number 3, as well as will be important for the prelims examination, because now the implication based questions into the economy are being asked. So, guys, this particular article talks that what impact the fiscal deficit will be having onto the inflation. Now, guys, here, first of all, if you focus onto this particular infographic, we can see that since 2010 and 11, the graph of the inflation as well as the fiscal deficit as a part of a GDP has been given. So here we can see that in 2010 and 11, the inflation was at the mark of 10.53%, whereas the fiscal deficit as a part of a GDP was 4.9%. And since then, government has repeatedly tried to bring down both of them, that is the fiscal deficit as well as inflation. Now, guys, what has happened recently? The report of the Controller General of Accounts (CGA) has been published, and it has said that in the financial year 2019 and 20, the government has breached the fiscal deficit deficit. And even into the financial year of the 2020 and 2021, the same kind of trend is going to be repeated, even worse. So guys, what will be the impact of the fiscal deficit onto the inflation? First of all, if you don't know, the fiscal deficit is basically the difference between the government expenditure and government revenue. Suppose government received 100 rupees and government spent 200 rupees. So this 100 rupees will be the fiscal deficit. The most basic understanding I am talking about. Now guys, when this 100 rupees I am talking, how the government will be bringing such kind of money? So but till the year 1991, government was going for the monetization of the deficit, by which the government used to print the new currency and will be plugging this particular gap. But after 1991, such a practice has been stopped, and now whatever the gap is there, government go and borrow that particular money from the market. So guys, if the more of a fiscal deficit will be there, government needs to borrow more of a money, and here the fiscal deficit starts to bring an impact onto the inflation. See what will be happening. So guys, with the high fiscal deficit, the cost push inflation comes into existence. Cost push inflation is the situation where the goods price have increased because the cost of manufacturing them has increased. So what will be happening now guys, as the government will be borrowing more and more money, it will be increasing the interest rates. Clear? Because interest rates are also simply they work onto the principle of demand and supply. If the demand of the credit will be more and the supply is not that much more, so what will be happening? The interest rate will increase. And when the government is borrowing, what government is doing? Government is giving, is raising the demand for the money, and the supply is limited. So guys, what will be happening? Interest rate will be increased. And when the producers of the goods also need to seek the credit, they have to take the expensive credit, and high cost of such credit will be simply passed to the producers into the form of the high price of the goods and services, and this is nothing but the inflation. So guys, very clearly the high fiscal deficit leads to the inflation, and into this particular direction only even the Fiscal Responsibility Budget Management Act 2003 was passed, which aimed that government needs to keep their fiscal deficit under a manageable situation. However guys, rarely it has been followed, and even into now the fiscal FRBM Act 2.0 has come after the NK Singh committee recommendations, where government was to contain the fiscal deficit. However guys, into the FRBM 2.0, which came after the NK Singh committee's recommendation, there was also an escape clause which was there. Now as per the escape clause, it was said that government might breach its fiscal deficit target if there is a kind of a natural calamity, and into the pandemic, the escape clause has been seeked, by which the fiscal deficit government has exceeded, and now it is leading to the inflation. And guys, if you are following our newspaper analysis regularly, we have also taken up an article by the Reserve Bank of India also, where the RBI was saying that they are also not able to control the inflation right now. Why? Because they are more concerned about bringing the growth, and when the growth is to be brought, RBI focuses on increasing more of a liquidity into the system, and therefore again by that particular aspect, because of a more liquidity also, the inflation is increasing. So guys, this is all the aspect into this particular aspect. I hope that you have understood it, and you will be able to apply this particular understanding into the implication based question if they will be asked. So that's it, and now we'll be moving to the next article. Now, guys, this particular article has been taken from the Hindu newspaper, and it is talking about the revival of SARC, which is needed right now. Now, guys, first of all, if we see, then nearly the 6 years have passed since no SARC meet has happened, and even into the future, there is no hope that the SARC meet is going to happen. Now, guys, the question as why these meets are not being held, the reason is Pakistan. It has been said that the Pakistan is spreading the terrorism, and as a condemnation of such terrorist activities, India doesn't want to share the platform with the Pakistan, and guys even don't want Pakistan to host the SARC meet. But this attitude of India is flawed on some of the aspects. For example, guys, though India don't want to share the platform with the Pakistan, but recently it met with the Pakistan delegations at the recent SCO summit, that is the Shanghai Cooperation Organization summit, and even with the China also, India is sharing the stages. For example, at the SCO, then into the Russia, India, China trilateral meet, then into the G20. So the question comes that why only the SARC is being sidelined or is being undermined. So right now in 2021, the SARC is very crucial because of certain reasons. First, it has been said that when we talk about the South Asia's experience into the pandemic, it has been very much different from the other regions, and this particular different response with respect to the fatality, with respect to the infection and all such thing is needed to be studied, so that in future we are better prepared for such kind of pandemic. And therefore we need to have a kind of a block where all countries together can come and put forward their experiences and it could be studied. So therefore the SARC can provide such kind of platform. Then guys, it has been said that the pandemic has an impact on all of the economic aspects. It had impacted the GDP, there has been the job loss, and if we see it into the numbers, then guys, approximately 10.77 million job loss have been caused, and approximately $52 billion of GDP into the tourism sector alone is impacted by the COVID-19. Moreover, guys, there is also a fall into the revenue generated by the migrant laborers, and this fall is approximately 22%. So therefore, right now it is needed that collectively we come together and we find the ways that how this particular impact can be reduced. Moreover, particularly into the tourism sector, we can bring a kind of an initiative which works onto the tri-regional transnational approach, where we can integrate the tourism sector with each other. And here we can see a successful example such as the East Africa single joint visa system. So here such kind of initiative can also be taken up by the members of the SARC, and it will give a boost to the tourism sector. Then guys, after that, it has been provided that right now the world has been changed very much. On one hand, there is the winds which are suggesting that the globalization is more needed, and on to the other hand, there is the deglobalization winds which are saying that now the inward lookingness attitude is more preferred. And guys, into that particular direction, even the Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan has been taken by the government. Now it has been provided into the article that both of the approach in entirety are not correct. Rather, we need a kind of a middle path where not entire global integration will be needed, not complete inward lookingness is needed. Rather, we need to find the Goldilocks zone. Now Goldilocks zone means the hospitable zone which is neither too hot nor too cold. So what is the needed? We need to go into the regional pacts. Now you can see here that all the major countries, they are involving into such regional agreements. For example, United States, Mexico, Canada agreement is there. Then guys, there is a Southern Common Market or the Mercosur. Then guys, there is the European Union, African Continental Free Trade Agreement, and in such way there are so many of the agreements which have been signed onto the regional basis. So guys, in the Asia also, the SARC countries needed to come together and further needed to expedite their response into the present times. Complete globalization as well as complete deglobalization is not needed, so the SARC collectively can find a way out into this particular issue. After that, in order to deal with the China effectively also, India needs to have a platform such as SARC. Guys, if we see all the members of the SARC, just leaving the Bhutan apart, they have joined the Belt and Road Initiative, and in China is very progressively bringing them into their own stronghold. So India needs to have a SARC as a countermeasure on this particular aspect. Moreover, not only that China has included them into the Belt and Road Initiative, but also had actively helped them into the times of pandemic in under its Health Silk Road Initiative, and it is also now exploring to provide the new COVID-19 vaccine, that is the Sinovac, to these countries also. And this all points that the China is playing very actively. Moreover, guys, there could also be a possibility that China might invite all these members into the RCEP also. So therefore, India needs to revive SARC actively in order to put the counterweight to the China also. So guys, this is all the issues which says that the revival of the SARC is an imperative into the present year. So that's it, guys, and now we'll be moving to the next article. Now guys, this particular article, it is talking about the recent tussle that is going on between the government of the Puducherry as well as the Lieutenant Governor IPS, former IPS Kiran Bedi. So guys, recently if we see, then there are large number of federal crises that has happened between the governor and between the elected government of a particular state, and this particular time the union territory. Earlier into the Rajasthan, it happened when the government wanted to hold an assembly session, but the governor refused or delayed it. Then guys, recently in Kerala also similar thing happened. And now into the Puducherry, the lieutenant governor, earlier the dispute was with respect to the appointment of the state election commission. Right now the dispute is with respect to the manner into which the direct benefit transfer can be given to the people. So guys, a question is coming that many a times these kind of disputes happen purely for the political vendetta, and many a times there is some genuine ideological clash which is happening. So guys, a very generalistic idea has been provided here that such kind of differences are needed to be overcome in an amicable manner, and for populistic tendencies such kind of things are not to be utilized. However guys, many such a kind of a thought provoking idea or any committee or any such kind of thing has not been provided, and earlier also we have taken such kind of things into much detail. So just guys, for a brief update we will be looking it. So guys, that's it, and now we'll be moving into the next article. Now, guys, this particular article you can use as a reference into the GS paper number 1 under the topic of the urbanization. So, we have seen that right now the urbanization is increasing to such an extent, and there are large and large number of people who are migrating to the cities. But the cities are plagued with not having the adequate provision for the basic services and all such kind of thing. So, it has been provided that the ease of living is our number one priority that is to be provided, and the ease of living is characterized by the basic amenities to the people, such as the piped drinking water, affordable sanitation, all such kind of things. Into this particular direction, guys, we can see that the Hyderabad have designed a free water scheme where the free water will be provided to the people. Now this particular thing can be called as an attempt to provide the right to basic amenities to the citizens in order to make their lives more easy and more dignified by providing them the basic amenities. So guys, this is all into this particular direction. Just as a reference, you can give the example of Hyderabad. That's it guys, and now we'll be moving to the next article. Now, guys, here we can see a very brief update that finally the labor codes that have been passed by the parliament, they will be implemented by the April. Now, guys, first of all, there have been the four labor codes that the government has passed. That is the code on the wages. Then there is an occupational safety, health and working condition code, the industrial relation code, and the social security code. These codes have been made after amalgamating the 29 laws onto the subject of the labor. Now, guys, when we talk about the labor has always been a very complex subject because it has been provided in both the state list as well as the concurrent list. And by that, both the state government as well as the union government has made hundreds of law into this particular respect. And many a times the matter turns to be complicated. And it is said that because labor is a complex issue in India, it impacts the ease of doing business into the India. So therefore, guys, government came out with the four comprehensive law which deals with majority of the aspects with respect to the labor. However, it has been called by the labor unions that such a thing has been very much arbitrarily done by the government and consultation has not been made. So from very start they have been critical, and many unions have boycotted the government's instance. Now government had said that finally, even after onto these particular laws, the rules have been now designed and they will be coming in force in onto the month of the April. So guys, this is just a brief update into this particular direction. However, we don't need to go too much into the detail. However, guys, into our Thinking Palette magazine already the issue of the labor laws and with respect to all of the details nitty-gritties we have already discussed. So if you want to go into more detail, you can see into our Thinking Palette magazine edition number 1. So guys, that's all about the important articles for the today. Guys, I hope that you are able to understand these issues. So that's it. Thank you so much.